live on YouTube too. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I started the stream a little bit late, so I'm a little bit sleepy. I should have started a little bit earlier, but it's all right. But yeah, anyways, what I wanted to do is I wanted to pull up. I see you on TikTok randomly, and you're like my favorite discovery. Thank you. Thank you. Now let me see. What was I trying to pull up here? I wanted to pull up some of my my videos here. So we can watch some of my videos. Or go over some of my videos. Rather. But let me tell you guys, I've been thinking, right? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna wait before I say that. I'm gonna wait. Until we have a little bit more people in. But anywho, I have a video I want to pull up on my YouTube here. Let's see. Display, boom. So this is my YouTube channel. And let me get it on the Twitch here too. I'm on Twitch as well, guys. It's in my bio. So what I wanted to pull up was my video on e-waste, because for anybody who has researched around the world, we know that e-waste is a huge thing, a huge issue. Thank you, Telly from Queens. Thank you, thank you. So yes, e-waste is a huge issue in our world, and especially in nations in Africa and such. What is up, people? Your boy Jab back at it. Shut up. Especially places in Africa. E-waste is such a big issue that they actually burn it in giant fire pits, right? They burn it in huge fire pits, and then they recover the metals from it. And this technology actually allows us to take these e-waste and make fuel out of it, and also recover the metals as well. So let me turn my I'm trying to fix this. I look so orange on the TikTok. I think it's this filter on this camera. So I'm about to fix this in a second here. But anyways, in this video that we're gonna watch. Then again, we're doing e-waste today. I've been waiting to do this for so long, like before even Mark II. Well, actually during Mark II. But anyways, let me show you these boards. We got boards with transformers on them, as you see. We got boards with capacitors on them. What's up, Fearless Pins? Copper spirals, little aluminum bits. I mean, we got all of the different types. I also got a lot of these noise filters for microwaves, and they have fuses and toroidal noise. So these circuit boards, they're made of PCBs, and what it is, so there's a lot of metal and inorganic things, but there's also a lot of organic parts. Like the actual board is made of resins and fibers and such. So that's what we really get the actual energy from in terms of the fuels, right? But then when it comes to what we actually recover the metals, as you see, just looking at it, we have all types of things. So there's silvers in here, there's golds, of course, steel and copper. So in short, just from the recovery, the solid material recovery, you can actually make quite a bit. You can recover quite a bit from that. So we loaded it in the reactor, and then we spun the blades to get it pushed all around the reactor. And I don't remember if I did in this video, but I don't think I actually added any catalyst. And I think that's because these boards naturally absorb a ton of microwaves, just being that they have so many metals in them. I'm recording. Guys, if it does blow up, content. So now we're gonna skip to when I turn it on. That's really what we want to see here. Yes. It wasn't completely right in my opinion, because I had to end it prematurely. Some electrical wires came in contact with plastic, So remember we put in there all those boards, right? So open it up and take a look at what we get out. Clearly was a motherboard. Now it's been carbonized. I wouldn't say, I don't know if I'd say complete or not, but. So at this point in the run, guys, I was kind of confused because I was like, well, I don't know if it really broke down well or not. So I ended up just fixing the electrical issue I had, and I ran it for another hour and 30 minutes just to, make sure everything was nice and broken down completely since we had to stop this. So the reason why these boards stayed intact is actually because the boards have like almost a plastic coating on them, but the actual boards are made of some type of like fiber material. You said previously you doubled the energy out versus in. Does that mean it's 200% efficient? Technically, that only means it's 100% efficient. Technically. But then at the same time, if you plug it into an efficiency calculator, it comes out to 199% efficiency. So it's kind of weird because there's no such thing as past 100% efficient. But conversely, when you say I'm getting double what I put in out, then yeah, that is technically by nature 200% efficient. So it's kind of a weird situation, but the truth of the matter is we did, with this reactor here, get double the energy the energy output than what we put in. So it ends up just becoming absolute carbon. All the organic parts, right, become absolute carbon, and all the inorganic parts stay right there. So look at all of the metals that we recover. We recover a gargantuan amount of metals from this e-waste with this process. And e-waste and carbon, which are both very useful things. So here is the end product of e-waste pyrolysis. Now, we've had tons of technical difficulties. They stayed intact despite everything being carbonized. The boards are still like, I guess these boards are inorganic or something, or fiberglass. I don't know. But clearly, whatever they are, they did not break apart. At least some of them. What's up, William? So yeah, like I said, those boards were some type of inorganic material. But I think the most interesting part of this run was when we started to get to the metals that we recovered from the actual e-waste parts, like transformers and such. Some type. Anyways, we're gonna sift this because there's obviously a ton of goodies and metal and all types of stuff that is here to recover, and this is the most important part of e-waste pyrolysis. This part here, the carbon, beyond anything else, because this is where all the goodies are. This is where we get all that recovery. All the real value is out of this stuff right here. So I got me a good old wheelbarrow here. Got me a good old grate. We're gonna sift this stuff out. And before any of you say, "Oh, why don't you just make a little automatic sifter with a mower that's displaced?" All right. Here are the results. Everything that didn't sift out, or did sift out, I guess you could say. Well, mainly just these boards. Now, I looked it up, and these boards actually are made of glass fiber, not fiberglass, but glass fiber. So that explains why they did not decompose. Because I really when I first opened the reactor, I was like, dude, this run was trash. It didn't decompose anything. If these boards are still intact like this, but then I looked it up, and they're actually completely inorganic, non-conductive. So obviously, this could be shredded up and put as a filler in like concrete or something, right? So that's recovery there. Let me remove all these boards so we can actually see like the actual like metal recovery. I guess there is some metal on these boards still, some bits, some connections, and all that. But let's see the actual other bit. So this is the rest of the stuff. And as you can tell, you probably can tell or saying what I'm saying, like fat percentage of e-waste is inorganic, completely inorganic. So it's an absolute shame that so much is just thrown away in landfills because this is so much clearly a transformer here. I recovered the copper in there, the iron plates. I mean, I could pull this apart myself right now. It's already loose. It got loosened from the microwave pyrolysis. You can kind of tell it's a little bit like slanted and all. It's really loose. These little toroidal noise filters, these completely come apart. There's ceramic under there and copper wires around it. I gotta say, like, if I had a found... So the heat from the microwaves actually kind of like loosened up all the metal parts and made them like easier to separate from each other, which was interesting. I mean, heat expands things, so it's, you know, that makes sense. But what was surprising to me was like the copper coils. Once they got heated with the microwaves, not only were they like expanded and made softer then, but they permanently stayed softer and more malleable, which obviously is easier for recovery later down the line. Foundry, I would absolutely be having a heyday right now because I'm sure this a little bit of extra carbon residue on all this metal really won't harm it when it goes in the foundry to be melted down. And I mean, like, this is the pure metal. There's no paints on it, no rubbers or crap on it. Like, look at that. This is copper wire from this. In fact, I could use this copper wire for something. So I mean, I got quite a few of these little toroidal noise filters. This completely inorganic. This must be made of pure glass. I mean, clearly, this is a great way to separate stuff. Look at these capacitors. I mean, of course, they're blown out. But the... What is that? Whoa! What the hell? What on earth? Is this aluminum or steel? What is this? What? Yes, so once again, going back to that, the capacitor, right? Like, normally capacitors, you can't just open them up like that. But the heat made, I guess, the oils inside of it just explode out, and then we recovered that in a form of energy, and then now all the metals were easily separable, and there was some type of paper in there as well, but that paper turned to carbon. So, you know, even though microwaves cannot normally go through metal, it was just the residual conductive heat of the whole process that made just everything break down and was very easily separable and recoverable as well. So ultimately, I mean, the point I'm trying to say here is that microwave pyrolysis is not only good for, you know, of course, getting energy out of plastic, but then complete value recovery from things like e-waste. Oh my word! What is this? This was in that capacitor, which it was completely blown out. So obviously the temperature rise so much that the oil in there just... Look at that. This probably is steel foil right here. I can't tell if it's aluminum or steel, but most likely steel foil. And we got this casing around here. All this rubber. I guess this must be laminated paper. Another capacitor here. Let's see if it does the same. Yep, there we go. Look at that. I mean, just the recovery, guys. The recovery is beautiful. I love this. This is one of my favorite parts. Another transformer. So here's the thing, right? Because plastic isn't normally recyclable. Glass and, you know, metals have always been super recyclable forever in history, right? But plastic obviously is not, because it actually is profitable to take pieces of metal and melt them back into new metal because it's cheaper to do that than to go out and get new metal from the ground. Oh, my life really got restricted? I wonder why. I didn't even do anything. I didn't even like show anything dangerous. Didn't even give me a notification. But anyways, with that being said, when we take plastic, which is not profitable to recycle, and we put it in a method like this, where we not only are recycling the plastic profitably, we're also recovering metal, which has always been profitable. Think about it like this. Now you have a process which you can use to recycle plastic and get energy and money profit that way. But then you can also recycle the metals from the plastic and sell those and make money that way. It's like a money tree at this point. What this machine is, because even if it did take more energy than the energy required for the fuel or the fuel gives you, you obviously have all of these metals, which are their own source of monetary gain. So this one you could definitely tell is a little bit beat up. Clearly the magnetic fields. There was some funky stuff going on in that reactor, obviously. Like this, I don't know how these transformers get so misshapen. It doesn't really show up on camera, but this thing is like, that thing is jacked up. But it's still iron and copper for the cover. And that's another thing I was talking about. Like, I don't know how it happened, but somehow the microwaves in there warped a lot of the metal, which is interesting because metal reflects microwaves. So it's like that shouldn't have happened, but it did. So now, obviously, the most interesting part, other than the metal recovery, is of course, well, did we get any type of actual, fuels out other than just recovering the metal? And we did. We did get some fuels out. So we're gonna go to that part now. Because I was just, weighing how much metal recovery we got from everything we put in there. 6 pounds, if I remember right. So, yeah, a lot of the weight comes from just straight the metal. To about 300 mil. So that's oil we got purely from the e-waste. And as we said in the beginning, the e-waste has so little organic content in it to begin with that to even get this much oil is pretty impressive for how much we put in there. We didn't even put in that much of total liquid yield. And this is actually some pretty decent looking oil. Let's see how she burns. Does not want to catch easily to a plasma arc. So this is probably more than likely mostly diesel with some gasoline fractions in there. And it burned for quite some time. So, if that was gasoline, that would have burned very quickly. But since it burned so long, it was more diesel change. So what that lets us know is that e-waste gives you more diesel than it does gasoline. Because every type of plastic will give you a little bit of everything, but some types give you way more of something else. Pokeball and a half. Now the reason why this is less than a half is because I actually ended up leaking a lot of it by accident. So there was not really that much liquid. Was not that much gas, but we also did not put that much in there, mind you. And nonetheless, I do feel like it's interesting that, we did get oils and we did. So this is the natural gas that we got from e-waste too. Not much because we didn't put much in there, of course. But despite that, let me see if I actually show it burning in this video. No, I don't. I don't show it burning in this video at any point. However, the point is we got oils and we got natural gas from e-waste, which is already crazy because e-waste is already so valuable because of the metals you get. So we got carbon, natural gas, liquid, and of course, carbon and metal. So it's like that's pretty valuable if you ask me. That's some pretty good value. And then another thing is these right here. These multi-layered plastics, they're huge. Like chip bags and stuff. Because they cannot be recycled normally. They literally cannot. Because, chip bags have that layer of aluminum on the inside, right? And that's actually a big issue when it comes to recycling. Like, there is currently, I don't think, any way that we have in this world right now to recycle these types of things. Plastics. These are mostly like food packages, containers, all the type of stuff. Basically, it's anything with multiple layers. It could be plastic, aluminum, or wood. As you saw, those other chip bags had aluminum. Some of these are just multiple. Oh, I gotta turn something down here. Different types of plastic. These are traditionally very hard to recycle. So I also have this electric meter on the plastic shredder so we can see how much electricity it consumes. Some people have been asking. So as I was saying, this plastic is traditionally very hard to recycle because the different layers are laminated together. So like the aluminum or the wood or whatever, like is a super amount. Anyways, as you see, there are these little aluminum bits from the bag, the chip bags have aluminum, and as we know, what happens if you put aluminum in the microwave, right? So I actually wonder if what happens when you put aluminum in a microwave is actually the aluminum actually ends up being a form of microplasma formation, right? So when we put these multi-layer plastics in here,
right? And they're mixed with the plastics. That aluminum becomes a nucleation point for plasma formations, which actually aids in the plastics being heated up and broken down. You said, "Oh, sorry for the YouTube chat. I haven't been in here." You said, "Can you test the solution for microplastics?" I don't have the tools for that. However, we can say anecdotally there wouldn't be microplastics in the solution because, by nature, for this process to break down the plastics, right? By the time it even becomes a vapor, let alone a liquid, it's no longer plastics at that point at all. But it does run through many types of filters, anyways. But of course, we want to test that. We want to test the oils for microplastics. But yeah, 9 out of 10 times it would not be. What would be the environmental effects of that? Would it put microplastics into the air? No, it would not put microplastics into the air at all.
That aluminum will act as an antenna, and if it will actually help the reaction.
So we shredded up the multiple layer plastics, right? And then we weighed them, because in my YouTube videos it was way more scientific. Like, I would weigh everything before, put it in after. And I mixed them with a catalyst, which is carbon, because that allows the microwaves to then heat up the plastic directly, because microwaves are not normally going to heat up plastics on their own, because plastics are what we call microwave transparent. Let me move this goal here. We don't really need this on the screen, do I? We'll do this. So anyways, we mix in the carbon with the plastic.
Go ahead and add the carbon in. This next thing is actually
then I would add some other, miscellaneous catalysts like iron and such. So anyways, after that, we put it in the reactor.
Load this in the reactor. I just put this makeshift hopper, which is a bucket at the top. And as I'm loading it in, I spin the blades, because that kind of helps mix everything up as it's going in there. So really, we don't even need to really mix the catalyst outside of the reactor, really. We could do it when it's in here, but I just did it anyway. So anyway, you see all the plastic is in there. You can see all the little bits of aluminum and stuff in there. And once it's in there, and those blades spin it around, that's pretty much how the reactor's going to work when it's inside molten hot plastic too. It's going to get broken down, and it's going to be agitated.
So I think that's a great display of how that reactor works there. How the Mark IV works with the blades. Hey, Queenie Soul. I never knew how to say your name. I'm sorry. What's up, Tragic Clan? But anyways, you see the blades in there spinning, and this is what they do when it's completely closed. You can't look inside. But this is obviously how the plastics break down so well. You see how much surface area is being exposed with this motion, and how much agitation is being done, and it's a great amount. So this is why this reactor design works so well. I made your day by saying your username. Well, I'm glad.
So we put this argon in there to push out all the oxygen. You just heard this pressure. We need no oxygen in this reaction. So about an hour in, after I turned it on, the temperatures are 740 degrees for the body temperature, 250.
Wow, I forgot I even went that in depth. I literally had the body temperatures and all that on YouTube when I run these machines. So anyways, like, the machine would get pretty hot. I said I was in your live when y'all making the truck move with plastic. Yeah, pretty exciting, right? So yeah, the machine would get pretty hot, because think about it like this, right? Plastics heat things from the inside out. So for the body of the reactor itself to be getting 700 degrees, that means the plastics are getting to like 1,000, 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very hot, which is enough to completely crack them. So for people who ask about microplastics cannot exist in those type of environments. In fact, there's nothing organic that can exist in those environments. Literally nothing organic can.
Degrees for the vapor temperature, and I also have the Celsius numbers up there as well for all my
You said take care of yourself and get some rest soon. Yeah, I start the live way too late. I go to sleep really early, and I start the live way too late. But I was like, I still need to go live today though, because I didn't yesterday. And I was like, I'll still at least go live for a little bit. But yeah, definitely need to get some rest. The next Albert Einstein, flattering. You definitely fired me on that one. But I appreciate it truly. So anyways, let's take a look at the carbon we got out of this.
Way at the front here. And as we see, we go ahead and this is all that's left of the plastic. Really just carbon. Now the first little bits of carbon I get are a little bit like waxy or oily. Like they're not completely carbon. Like literally right after that first little bit, we get all the good carbon out. This dusty carbon. Like you know it's good carbon if it like when it falls, it makes dust everywhere. Because that means that it's completely dry, completely oilless, free of organic matter pretty much. And I reckon that all those little aluminum bits are just right here, ready to be recovered too. With the proper
What's up, Eduardo?
Process.
Eduardo Torres.
Separate them from the carbon, maybe some type of eddy currents or whatever. So, anyways, at the end of the day, we want to go ahead and weigh this. I do want to examine this carbon product though. I always like to examine it to see the level of carbonization. So the goal is always absolute carbonization. As you see, we do have some briquettes of coal there. Because you know what? This is carbon or pure coal, so this can pretty much be burnt. So the total weight at the end is 3.35 pounds or 1.51 kilograms, which brings the weight loss to about 0.9 pounds or 0.4 kilograms. So there was almost a pound lost in terms of the weight. Now, in terms of this oil, we actually didn't get all that much oil from the multi-layered plastic, if I'm being completely honest. Like, compared to other things, we've gotten shot for oil. But this oil, just like all the oils we've gotten, kind of just all the similar characteristics. It's flammable, it lights for a long time, So, we're going to add it to the batch when we distill a whole bunch of this good oil. Yeah. And after the oil, the last thing we got from this was a ton of gas. Well, not really a ton. We got 3 yoga balls full of stuff, so we got more gas than oil by a large amount. And for these yoga balls, you see the flame, nice and beautiful, like we always have. Well, that's pretty much it for the multi-layered plastic. So hard to recycle.
I wish I was as smart as you. I have like all C and F in my classes and not proud. Well, to be honest, I was A's and B's in school, but that really didn't have school had literally nothing to do with creating this, except for welding school. Working hard in welding school to learn how to weld, but other than that, when it came to actually applying ELA or something, that had nothing to do with this. This was me learning research papers, just gathering knowledge and applying it. Something that you're passionate about. So, you don't really need school to find out what you're passionate about and to work hard at it. School really is more of a general guide to kind of find what you're passionate about. Some people, I always would like science class, right? So clearly, if I always would like science class, it makes sense for me to naturally be more drawn to science, science subjects. So it's not really surprising that I did something science based. But if you're getting C's and F's in classes, maybe that's saying these classes that you're not getting the grades in is something you're not passionate about more than you as a person are not smart. I don't believe that. I think that to be smart is really just a choice. It depends on how hard you're going to apply yourself to what you are passionate about, because anybody can be a professional in any field, but nobody's a professional in everything, So ultimately, just find what you're passionate about and really focus on that, and it'll be okay, Hey, Julian, I hope all was well. Love the lives and the videos. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely gotta... Don't want to be losing consistency with the live streams. I'm doing good. One of the Discord members that I'm on shared TikTok clips of yours, and I'm here. Oh, yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what's up, Eduardo. I'm glad to have you here. We're just going through my videos, and I'm just kind of explaining them, breaking them down. I'm sure I'll be doing this a lot more, as the streams in the future are bigger, have more people in. But it's never bad to, explain these things because... over and over again, I do have to repeat myself so much, but it's not bad because whenever I do interviews and stuff, I don't ever have to stutter or think because I've already said it so many times, answered the same question so many times. It's just like muscle memory, Does it hurt like the fuel gauge? What do you mean by that? Let me turn my light up actually, because it's kind of dark in here on the camera. So let me turn my light up a little bit. There we go. That's better. What else did I wanted to show? So we did styrofoam too. We turned styrofoam into fuel, and that actually works pretty good. And what else did we do? What is something really interesting? Oh, the Will It Pyrolysis series, but that was way back then with let me show you guys the first time I ran a weed whacker off of plastic. Because I ran it off of plastic first on YouTube before we ever did on TikTok. This is not loading. Gonna run some gasoline mixed with the 2-strip oil into this thing just to make sure that it really works as a control. Oh, so this video is just the weed whacker running, but the video previous to this was me distilling the oil to then put into this weed whacker. And let's see, where is it at? This video right here. It's a 20-minute video. Obviously not gonna play the whole 20 minutes, but does it hurt the fuel gauge because it's different molecules and different materials? No, it doesn't hurt the fuel gauge because it's almost identical molecules and materials, because plastic comes from crude oil, just like gasoline and diesel come from crude oil. So therefore, it's almost pretty much the exact same when it's been processed the same way. So anyways, the plastic oil we get right out of this reactor that you guys seen is actually a mix of oils, this mix of gasoline, mix of diesel, mix of jet fuel. The only way to separate those is to distill them, which is when you put them in a closed container and you heat it up, and then they turn into vapors, right? So that's what we're doing here.
Oh, and that's the key. So after about like 4 or 5 hours,
and they drip out the end here.
Our first drips, and we have the temperature here, 164 degrees Fahrenheit and 74 degrees.
So you control what you get out based on the temperature of the distiller. So when the temperature is lower, you're going to get more lighter things like gasoline out. But as you start to break the temperature up, you get things like diesel. But the issue with that is, if you turn the temperature up too quickly, it's going to put everything out at once, which it ruins the whole point of separating them. So for example, here, this was a lower temperature run, and let's see what we get from this lower temperature run of the distiller.
And as we can see, it is developing a nice little fuel here. So I went ahead and I changed the flask at this point because I wanted to make sure that we're keeping all the fractions separated. So as you see, even though it's dark in there, when I go pull it out with a pipette, it does have a nice amberish color to it, right? A nice brown color. So it's not necessarily dirty. I think it's just because there's some water in there.
So the amber color, you know, when I got my my glass distillation set, when I had my gasoline yield, it did not have amber to it at all. It was completely like yellow, like real gasoline. So that yellow color, I think that is some kerosene mixing with the gasoline, because it wasn't really the good types of separation that we look for.
When I did around the 190 Fahrenheit, what is that, like 75 C range? I don't know what exactly it is.
And you see that light's just like gasoline does.
Flammable, and it burns pretty good. Really quite calorific. I just heated it up and just kept burning for a while.
But you see, it burns like gasoline, but then I said that it burns for a while, and gasoline really doesn't burn for that long, and that's because there was some kerosene in there, which is right after the gasoline. So you can see at this point, we got an oil that was more golden, because it started to separate better.
It makes sense with the temperatures we're working at. Like, we're going to start to get diesel. Like, we're certainly not getting gasoline at 204 centigrade.
But I will say, I remember that this was very exciting to get all these different fractions and yields. Because this was the first time that we actually took the oil and started to separate it out, right? To get the gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, because at this point I was still discovering myself how many different yields came from plastic, right? I didn't know that at this point plastic made all three. I thought it just made gasoline and diesel. I didn't know it also made jet fuel, because that's that's a whole different thing too. That's a whole different industry to tap into right there, which is amazing. You said it looks like there may be toxic fumes when it burns. Well, what you're seeing is carbon, a really sooty flame. So you can actually take diesel or gasoline or anything that's flammable and put it in a plate and burn it, and it will always make a ton of soot because it's not reacting with oxygen properly. So it's not being completely broken apart. So that's an incomplete combustion. And that's actually why we have engines with computers and things to make sure that things combust properly, so it isn't toxic emissions, because it reacts with oxygen properly and breaks down properly. So like I said, if you put gasoline in a plate like this, you put diesel in a plate like this, it's all going to end up making a really sooty and black smoke flame for the same reason, because it's not able to get enough oxygen in it to truly break apart. You're seeing unburnt hydrocarbons, you're seeing carbon, literal carbon soot. You're seeing, we don't see it, but there will be carbon monoxide in there. You're seeing a lot of stuff because it's not breaking down all the way. So this is, I knew this was kerosene because you saw there. It's not light. What's up, Miller? You said, have you done any emissions tests? No, I don't have the tools, but that's of course what's going to be in Mark 5. We built Mark 5. A huge part of it will be emissions testing these oils. I don't even know what I actually do consider the diesel fraction. 340 to 380. My lighter went out. You look at that. All right, so my plasma lighter went out, so I got to use the good old typical lighter. I know this is not best practice to have an flame, but this is really all I got right now. The lighter is MIA. So let's see. So diesel does not light to a flame easy. Flame, if this was gasoline, it would have definitely caught that flame and ran. And that's how I was able to tell guys that I'm making diesel, gasoline, jet fuel, because you do this test here, and gasoline will always catch a flame easy, and diesel, kerosene do not. And that's how I knew which fuel that I can put into the diesel engine and what I can put into the gasoline engine. Because if it does not catch a flame easy like that, and you put that into a gasoline engine, it will not start. If you put that into a diesel engine, it would damage it. So that's exactly the test I did to figure out, when we ran the truck, when we ran the weed whackers, which is which. And we do make all three from the plastics, all three. Drop that in, and let's see how that does. So you see, when you put in a burning paper, it will finally catch the diesel on fire after a long time. So it's definitely caught fire. But as you can see, it definitely takes a lot higher of a flash point to get this stuff going, It's just now really getting going after all of that. But it does burn, as you see, and then it is quite calorific. It's lasting a long time. So I put that such a small amount in there, and the flame just kept going because diesel has more energy in it than gasoline. It's more energy dense. And so I took my gasoline product, right? And then we put it into the weed whacker because I wanted to see, okay, so since we separate these out finally, will the gasoline work in here? Whacker, manufactured, and this runs off of gasoline mixed with some special. Oh, I didn't actually run it in this video, I think. So what we're gonna do first is we're just gonna run some gasoline mixed in there. What I will do first, though, is I will make sure I remove most of, if not all the. Yeah. So what? Basically, we separate that out for the first time there, and then of course we ran the engine. And what we'll do is we'll actually be going over more of these videos in my next live streams, because I'm gonna go to sleep now. But with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to the live stream, and we'll be going over more videos later of kind of the whole history of things, building up to, you know, how we got to where we got to with the car. Because there were so many unseen things, but it was all documented. So many unseen things for social media, but it was all documented here on my YouTube channel. So there's absolutely tons of things to go over. So thank you guys for stopping by, and have a good night.